All right, greetings, brothers and sisters. My name is Kevin. I am the Connections Director with Rooted Ministries, and not to be confused with Kevin Butcher, I am the other Kevin. Actually, first off, I wanted to say, it's been a few weeks now with me jumping on the team here at Rooted Ministries. It is such a gift, such an honor to serve alongside folks like Kevin Butcher, William Mack, and all the folks who are behind the scenes at Rooted Ministries. It is incredible to see what God is doing, has been doing through this ministry, and how, just the work he's doing. It's incredible. And also, thank you to all of you out there who have been praying for other pastors, who have been writing in and sharing encouragement for the ministry that's happening here. It is such a beautiful thing to be a part of, but it's such an important thing to be a part of. And so I just want to share those things really quickly. I also want to talk quickly about the retreat. I know we've shared this announcements a few times, but now I think we have a 3-week time period now where we have to close off registration, or at least come up with the final numbers. If you have been thinking about it, or if you know of a pastor or a church leader that needs to be part of this retreat coming up here October 17th through the 19th, all the information currently is on our website, rootedministries.co. Click on Abide 22 at the top, and you'll see our registration page. And again, I know we've been stressing this, and I want to stress it again. If finances are a barrier, getting there by plane is going to be costly for you and you can't afford it, or just the registration dues. If there are any financial barriers there, we do have a form right there that you can just indicate how much help you need and how we can help, and allow us just to remove those barriers for you, just so we can get you there. The most important thing, the reason why Rooted Ministries exist is to see you, pastors, you, church leaders, and churches rooted in the love of God. We want to create spaces and these opportunities for us to grow and to heal. And so that's why we're here. So if there are barriers, please let us know, and we will do everything we can actually to help remove those. All right. Now, this week's podcast is actually going to be a little bit different, because I'm going to actually play back one of the podcasts that were so good for me that came out a few years ago from Pastor Kevin Butcher. This came to mind because over this past weekend here in Berkeley, California, we were given the opportunity to welcome Kevin Butcher to our church to lead our healing retreat, and it was powerful. As he was teaching about the love of God and our own need to lament and to heal, I was actually reminded of this time when I first heard this message of his a few years back. And it's just this reality that as pastors, we tend to fixate on the hurt and the pain of everyone else, as we should. However, we often do that at the cost of addressing the pain that we're holding on to. And so instead of addressing those and prioritizing those, what we tend to do is we kind of shelf them. And that pain festers, and eventually it kind of bleeds out of us into our ministry, into how we love and care for our friends, our family, and definitely the flock. So I hope this is encouraging to you. It was encouraging for me. It continues to be encouraging for me, and I just hope you'll be blessed by it.
This is Kevin Butcher again, and welcome to Rooted, the podcast. What I want to talk to you about for just a few moments today is this thing called grieving or lament. I've been in conversation with a number of pastors recently that you could feel from them the incredible pressure that they felt to continue to minister, to continue to serve in some high capacity way, even though they were going through or had been going through some deep pain themselves. And I'm really not even talking about just the kinds of things that happen to us on a daily basis. We have a fender bender, or we have to run to the emergency room with a cold that's turned into bronchitis. I'm talking about some deep pain, like the loss of a loved one, or maybe something going on in your marriage if you're married. If you're single, maybe some pressure that you're feeling very alone about because you don't know who to share it with. Just something that is really a significant wound. And instead of being able or feeling like you're able to take time to grieve or to lament, the psalmist says, weeping endures for the night and joy comes in the morning. We feel pressure to skip the weeping and get back to the joy, because for heaven's sakes, we've got people coming to church the next Sunday and they don't want to feel our pain or feel our mess or whatever. What if I suggested that that is an artificial rhythm that was never intended to be imposed among people that share the Word of God, people that are shepherds of God's flock, that comes from our pressure to perform. It comes from some artificially induced list of the things that we're supposed to be about. And really, quite frankly, if you want me to be brutally honest, it makes us act on a daily basis more like an animal, a dog, for example. I had a dog named Sadie who passed away last summer. I loved that Labradoodle. She was so sweet. But let's say I came in and had a bad day and didn't treat her with, the greatest of kindness. Now, if I treated my wife that way when I came into the house, when we got together after work, she would maybe be hurt for a couple of days until I made amends. With Sadie, in 10 seconds, she had gotten over it, come back to the table and wanted me to pet her or jumped up on me or whatever. Us not giving ourselves permission as pastors to have periods of lament, it makes we're treating ourselves more like we're our dog Sadie than like we're human beings. Listen, you and I are created in the image of God. God is a God of love. We're created to love. When we love, we create space to be hurt. And the greater the hurt in a love relationship, the greater the pain and the longer the need to grieve. It doesn't mean we can't get up in the morning. It doesn't mean that we can't fulfill our responsibilities for the most part. But I'm saying somewhere in our spirits, brother and sister pastor, we have got to give ourselves permission to weep and to share with our God the deep pain that we're going through, which is simply the enemy's attempt to take us out. And if we try to hide that pain, if we try to bury that pain, it indeed will take us out, because like in the movie Aaron Brockovich, if you remember, that toxic waste was buried in the ground, 25 or 50 feet below the surface in some kind of, I don't know, supposedly impenetrable tank. But then over a period of time, the tanks leaked, the toxic waste got out into the groundwater and poisoned everyone who drank it. The same thing is true in our lives. If we don't deal with our pain, if we don't take our pain to the Lord, then eventually, if we don't allow Him to give us His beauty for those ashes, for however long it takes, eventually it will poison our lives. It'll poison our spirits. We'll start to see it come out in our preaching. We'll start to see it come out in our relationships. We're not intended to just get over stuff. We're intended to lament our way to freedom. Let me give you one final illustration. When my little girls were younger, especially, but even in some ways today, if they're in deep pain, especially when they were younger, if they were going through something very tough, they would run to me crying and jump up into my arms, and they would pour their tears out on my chest. And something almost miraculously occurred over a period of 5 or 10 minutes. They would eventually dry their eyes and almost push away from me because they were ready to go live again. They would get down and they would go off as if nothing had happened. Where had they left their pain? They had left their pain on their daddy's chest. And there was somehow an exchange of love between their father and their hearts as they took their pain to me. And there was a healing that occurred, enough for them to go about living their life with a greater freedom than when they ran to me with all of their stuff. God calls Himself our Father. Just because we're shepherds doesn't mean that we don't need a father. Take your pain to Him today. If it's small, take it to Him. If it's large, take it to Him. Take it to Him until you begin to feel that beauty for ashes exchange. And don't think that you just have to keep ministering as if nothing is going on in your journey. Be kind to yourself. Take some space. Lament. Pull in some friends, maybe from around the country. Call me if you need to through Rooted. You can get to me through Rooted. You can email me. Let's grieve together. Let's lament our way to the joy that God promises will come in the morning. You're not a robot. You're a human being. Give yourselves a chance to heal from whatever pain is occurring in your life. All right, that's all for today. Love you much, and we'll talk soon.